Good morning, church.
Good morning.
I just want to say welcome to all of our friends and family that are here. And I just want you to know that if you're visiting with us, that we absolutely love you. Maybe someone called you, maybe someone sent you a letter, so maybe someone gave you a postcard. But they did that because they love you. And they want you to know the love of God. I'm just so glad that you're here with us. We ask that you give us an opportunity to get to know you more and to love you more. One of the things, if you're visiting with us, that we do every Sunday before our sermon is we get up and we hug each other, we high five, we greet each other. And the reason we do that is because we want you to know that you're loved. We want every single person in this room to experience and to know the love of God. And one of the ways that God shows and manifests His love is through us. So that when we love each other, we make known the love that God has for you. So if you would, I want to encourage everyone to stand up and greet and encourage one another. And if you're visiting with us, let us hug and greet you as well.
both places. So, okay.
You doing all right?
Doing good. It's at least 150.
That's Shirley's, Mike, and it's Dad, and I told Kevin, so.
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. That's right. So in love. Good morning. I hope everyone feels loved. Do you feel loved today? Let's try that again. Do you feel loved today? Yes. And guests, I hope you know that we love you extra. So we are just so glad you're here today. No, I am what you would call an older millennial. And one of the things about being my age is I got to see the growth of social media happen. Now, when I was younger, I remember when I was a little kid, girls would always play this game called MASH. Do you guys remember that game, MASH? It kind of determines who you're going to marry, what kind of house you're going to have, and what kind of car you're going to have. And then social media started growing, and we had things like MySpace and AOL starting to grow, and Instant Messenger was really big. But nowadays, we got social media that has just exploded. We got Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter and all these different things. And one of the things that people absolutely love to do, especially as social media seemed to grow, was all these different quizzes and games. How many of you have ever taken a Facebook quiz or game? Okay. Now, I took some of those, and I remember those got really popular, and I looked at some of the ones that seemed to be really popular. Like if I asked you, I know there's a lot of people who like Harry Potter, especially the younger generations. So if I asked you, how many of you have ever taken one of those quizzes that determined which Harry Potter house you are in? Do you guys know what house you're in? How many know their house? Okay, I did one of those, and I found out that I was a Ravenclaw, for anyone who knows what that means. Or there were other ones that were really popular, so I started taking all these quizzes to see how I was from all these different quizzes. And there was another one that was like, which superhero are you? And I did that, and I got Captain America. Or what is your favorite what Ninja Turtle are you? I got Leonardo. There was like, what flavor of ice cream are you? Vanilla. You know, my wife's like, yeah, boring. And what character from Winnie the Pooh are you? I got Eeyore. And then I got one that was like, the celebrity look-alike one. And so you're supposed to use a Snapchat picture. And so they said, what celebrity look-alike are you? I got Jackie Chan. And I was like, okay, there's a little bit of a bias. If you're Asian and you take that quiz, you're always going to get Jackie Chan. I was like, come on, at least get me Jet Li or something. He actually has a black belt. And so we took all these different tests, and it was just a fun thing to do. And so today I kind of want to play another game. And one of the quizzes that we often do is they often show these different pictures, and you got to pick which one seems to be the one that you would prefer. So I'm going to post some pictures, and I want a little bit of participation here. I want you to kind of tell me which one you would like, okay? So you've seen these kind of quizzes, and they show you different houses, and they say, which house would you choose? I want you to take a look at these, and I will list them off. And I'm going to list one, and then you tell me. So if you think that you would choose house A, raise your hand. Okay. Now, if you would choose house B, raise your hand. Okay. If you would choose house C, raise your hand. Okay. If you're one of those weirdos, pick D. Number D. Letter D. All right. Dun, 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 dun. That's the Halloween house. Go to the house for trick-or-treating this year. Okay, so that was kind of interesting. We got to kind of know each other's tastes and that. How about this one? How about the vacation? There's A and B and C and D. There's a lot of adventurous people. I want you to take a moment and look at those vacations. And then if you would choose A, raise your hand. Okay, if you would choose B, raise your hand. Okay, if you would choose C, raise your hand. Okay, if you would choose D, raise your hand. Okay, that was pretty even on that, okay? Raise your hand if you need a vacation. Can I get an amen? All right, there we go. How about this one? If you needed to choose a car, which one would you choose? Take a look at it for a second. Okay, how many of you would choose the Porsche? Raise your hand. Okay, if you would choose the Bugatti, raise your hand. Okay, if you would choose the Lamborghini, raise your hand. Okay, or how about the Ferrari? Raise your hand. Okay, there you go. But I want you to look at all those things. So far we looked at what kind of house, what kind of car, what kind of vacation. But after taking all those quizzes, our social media quiz today, one of the things I want to tell you is none of those things really matter.
That's right.
Okay? And that's one of the things that we often do is we are running after the wrong things. You know, one of the things that we often do is we try to pursue happiness. If you ask people in life, what are you truly trying to pursue in life? They may list a whole bunch of things, but at the core of what they're trying to look for, it's happiness. Like if I asked you, why do you want a good education? Why do you even want to go to college or trade school or the military, whatever it may be? Or why do you want the career you want? Or why are you looking for that special someone who will make you feel warm and cozy inside? Why are you looking for a certain house or for a certain car? You know, one of the things that I know as a minister and as a counselor is I know every single person is going through something in their life. And if you ask the average person, are you struggling? Are you frustrated? Are you hurt? Are you discontented? Most people, if they were honest and felt safe enough to be honest, they would say yes. And I know that because I'm around those people every single day. And so oftentimes I ask people, well, why are you pursuing all these different things? And at the core of it, they say, I'm discontented and hurting in my life. And I want a greater hope. I want something that will make me feel different. I want something that will make me different. I want something that will make me envied by other people or just out of this place, out of this hole, out of this dirt that I am in right now. If I could just be elevated, maybe if I got that job, maybe if I got that girl, maybe if I got that title, or maybe if I had more money in my pocket, maybe my life would just be a little bit better. Maybe it would be easier. Maybe it would be happier. But here's the thing. Those things may temporarily please you, but in the long run will never bring you joy and peace and fulfillment. All the things that our soul longs for. And one of the things that I often ask people is, are you all honestly searching and doing these things? A lot of us here are Christians. A lot of you are searching and seeking, is Christianity true? And one of the things that is a huge challenge is Jesus tells us not to conform to the world, but it's so easy to fall in line with the methodology of the world and the philosophy of life saying, live this way, live life this way. And if you do, then you'll get the peace and the joy and the happiness and all the things in life that make you feel a lot better. And so we train up our kids to focus on those things, but those are the wrong things. And here's the thing. People will say, well, why do people keep pursuing them then? Why do we keep teaching our kids this? Why are we still running the rat race to do all these different things? And the answer is because we are looking for hope and we think that these things will give us hope and peace and a better life, but they don't. And in fact, one of the things that I want to do is show you. Because we look at life, we go on Instagram, we go on the internet, we watch TV, and we think, wow, they got it all together. They got the looks, they got the money, they got the houses. Well, are they really at peace? Do they feel fulfilled? They have everything that we want and are trying to train our kids to have, get a good education, get a good job so you can have money, so you can be happy. That's false. And one of the things that I want us to do is realize you don't have to keep running after all of those things to experience the love and the joy and the salvation and peace that God offers everybody. And one of the things that I want us to do is, look, you'd say, well, Micah, you're a preacher. Of course you're going to say that. You're going to preach that Bible thing. You're going to do all that sort of stuff. Well, what if we listen to the people who actually had all those things? What would they say? I want to look at some of the quotes by some of the famous people and look at how, when they were honest and transparent, they make some pretty revealing comments. And if they're feeling this way despite having all the things, they had all the A, B, and C's of the pictures we just saw a moment ago, I want you to look at their quotes and say, if they have all those things and they feel that way, why would I keep trying to live my life that way? So let's look. And one of the things I want to do before that, though, is I want to read a passage of Scripture because Jesus addresses this. And Jesus addresses this, and I want us to look and see how Jesus makes known, a lot of people will look for pleasure and money and so forth to make them happy. The goal is have a good retirement. That's part of the American dream. Do well enough in life so you can have a good retirement and enjoy life. But Jesus kind of shows us, life is not about things. Life is not about pleasure. Life is not about being selfish. It's about God. But I want us to look at a parable first before we look at some evaluations and quotes by some famous people. But this is a parable that Jesus taught. And I want us to look at how Jesus kind of addresses how people run after the wrong things. And he kind of corrects and says, this is what you should be looking for. This is how you should be pursuing your life. In Luke chapter 12, verse 13 through 21, it says this. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Man, who made me a judge or arbiter over you?" And he said to them, "Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." And he told them a parable, saying, "The land of a rich man produced plentifully. And he thought to himself, 'What shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops.' And he said, 'I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and all my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'Fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God.'" Doesn't this guy who built his barn sound like the typical person you meet in America? I'm going to build up my wealth, enjoy life, and pleasure. Yet Jesus made known that person is a fool. And one of the things that I want to look at is, look at how this all started. This guy comes up to Jesus and says, "Hey, Jesus, tell this man, my brother, to share the inheritance with me." Do you know how cold this is? This guy's dad, his body's not even cold on the ground yet, and he's arguing about money. He doesn't care about his family. He didn't care that his dad just died. He didn't say, "Oh, give me comfort, Jesus, my dad just died." He said, "Hey, tell my brother to share the money." And Jesus makes known, life's not about the accumulation of things. It's not about pleasure. You guys are Americans. You guys have more than most people. You are wealthier. Are you happier than most of the world? You guys have a house. You guys have a car. You guys have clothes. But do those things bring you daily fulfillment and purpose? One of the things that we often do is we live for what we call the P's, the profit, popularity, power, or pleasure. But one of the things Jesus teaches us here is don't live for those things. Because if you ask the average person, especially in America, what are you living for? It's all of those things. You could sum it up right there. I want money. I want to be liked. I want power. I want to be pleased. I want to be satisfied. But we know that that's an empty life. Look at some quotes by some famous people. Lady Gaga, who performed at the Super Bowl the other year, not last year, but the year before, and this very famous singer says this, "In the richest homes, I meet the saddest and most depressed people. And I don't think I could think of a single thing that's more isolating than being famous." Here is a famous woman who performed at the Super Bowl, and she says this. Will Rogers, many of you remember him from long ago. He says, too many people spend money they earn to buy things they don't want to impress people that they don't like. Isn't that kind of true? How many of you have ever, you think, I'm going to buy a car, I'm going to drive, and then I'm going to pull up to someone at the red light and be like, hey, look at my nice car. You're never going to see that person again, unless you're in Kokomo, as you hit a sidewalk, But we know that. How about this? Megan Fox was an actress in Transformers. She says, what people don't realize is that fame, whatever is your worst experience in high school, when you were being bullied by 10 kids in high school, fame is that, but on a global scale, where you're being bullied by millions of people constantly. Okay, so we're telling our kids, be famous and rich so you can be bullied more. Okay, Madonna, star in the 70s, 80s, 90s. She said, there are times when I thought if I'd known fame was going to be like this, I wouldn't have tried so hard. Or how about Justin Bieber? He said, hey world, that glamorous lifestyle that you see portrayed by famous people on Instagram, don't be fooled thinking that their life is better than yours. I can promise you, it's not. And he is one of the leading musicians right now. I think he's ranked number 4 in Instagram followers. And he's saying this. Jim Carrey, he was the highest paid actor in the 90s. And this is what he said. I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of so they can see that it's not the answer. Miley Cyrus, she had her own TV show, music and everything. She says this, get more money, having more hits, being the lead in a movie. Those things might stimulate you, but they don't make you happy. I've experienced it all already, and I'm telling you firsthand, it doesn't. Robin Williams, he committed suicide a few years ago, and he says this, cocaine is God's way of saying you're making too much money. People often take drugs, and people say, why do you take drugs? And they say, it's to escape the troubles of life. Well, why do so many famous people take drugs to have an escape from a life that we think is so great? If it's so great, they wouldn't want to escape. But we're running towards it, they have it, and they want to run from it with drugs and alcohol. Beyonce, she is considered probably the biggest female artist, and she performed at the Super Bowl a few years ago. She says this, when you're famous, no one looks at you as a human anymore. You become property of the public. There's nothing real about it. You can't put a finger on who I am. I am complicated. I grew up with a lot of conflicts and traumas. I've been through a lot just like everyone else. My escape was always music, and I'm so lucky that's my job. But if I accomplished all these things and had no one to share with, it would be worth nothing. You need something real in order for any of that stuff to matter. You have to have something that is forever, something that is invisible. What's interesting here is Beyonce's right about needing something that is forever and something that's invisible. Now, her definition of what that is and my definition of what that is would differ. Because what I would tell people what they need is they need God. They need God who is forever. They need God who is invisible. The one who is unseen yet still loves you. The one who created you. And one of the things is we're pursuing and we're running after all of these things. Yet all of these people have these things, but they're saying it's not satisfying. This is why we got to change what we're pursuing. We got to change how we're teaching our kids. This is why if you're looking and saying, you know what, maybe I came to worship service today, maybe my friend invited me today because I'm searching, I'm looking, I'm hurting, and I'm just looking for a glimmer of hope. And where is it? And let me tell you, it's not found in money. It's not found in pleasure. It's not found in another person even other than Jesus Christ. Right. And one of the things that I am hoping that you will do today is say, you know what, I've been chasing after those things, and I have more of those things than most of the people in the world, yet I'm still unfulfilled and not satisfied. I got to have something more. I got to have something that is eternal. I got to have something that is forever and invisible, something that can fill my heart with the joy and the peace that my heart and my soul has been longing for, because I don't want to be depressed anymore. I don't want to be anxious anymore. I don't want to be unfulfilled anymore because all the things that I've tried has not yet worked. And my question to you is, are you looking for God? He is not necessarily some magic pill that solves all your problems, but living life His way is the way to help you realize the true peace and the true hope that is offered to you. Now, one of the reasons why I say this so urgently and why I preach this so fervently is because of a fact here, is that life is temporary. And I often ask, what are you living for? What are you living for? Life is so short. If I asked you, let me tell you, what if I said you have 100 years to make your mark in human history? You have 100 years to live life, to impact others, or to just live very hedonistically and live for yourself, whatever. What would you do with 100 years? Because let me tell you this, that's really what we got. Most of us are never going to reach 100 years old. And most of us are never going to reach that. And I often ask people, how long is 100 years in view of eternity? Because all of us are going to be eternal, whether in heaven or hell, with Jesus or away from Him. But one of the things is oftentimes we sacrifice the eternal for the temporary. We give it up. We say, you know what? I would love to have the pleasure and the money and all the things for less than 100 years at the expense of eternity. And I often ask people, is that smart? Is that wise? And even right now, even if you got some of those things, you're probably still not really happy. So you have 100 years of being somewhat happy at times and somewhat not happy at other times. At the expense of eternal life with Jesus Christ, where He says, you know, with me, there's joy and peace and love and purpose. With me, there is salvation. With me, there is love and grace and forgiveness and kindness and a relationship with you that is so intimate and personal that you're overwhelmed with joy. It's like when you first find the love of your life in that moment and you're so excited and giddy and realizing you get a greater relationship than that with your Creator. You see, life is short. Many of us know this. Some of us have had loved ones pass away. Some of us are getting older. Some of us have health issues. Some of us have had kids who have passed away at younger ages. But let me tell you this, life is short. This is why I preach so fervently to you, because I do not want you to waste your years. It may not be 100 years, maybe it's 60, 70, 80 years, but don't waste those years. This man that Jesus taught in this parable, he said, you know, I'm going to build barns, I'm going to build wealth, I'm going to enjoy life. And he did it. He made it his whole life's mission to get rich, to have pleasure. And God, seeing this, is just like, fool. Do you not realize that those things are temporary? They're not going to make you happy. And in fact, you wasted your whole life that I had given you. And because of that, your life is taken from you. Let me ask you this. How many of you are going to be able to take what you have earned with you to the grave? You're not going to be able to take your title because someone else took it when you die. You're not going to be able to take your money because the government has it. You're not going to have your health because age took it. You're not going to be able to take your pleasure because everything related to that is gone. So why do we live for the temporary? We don't want to be fools any longer. Do you really at the end of your life want to say, you know, I live my life foolishly? Or do you want God to say you live foolishly? How many of you, okay, especially the ladies, how many of you have ever watched a Hallmark movie? Okay, here's the plot. Here's a busy guy who's really horrible, and then he goes to this small town. Life slows down, meets the love of his life. He realized it's not the job that's important. It's not the money that's important. It's about love and family and blah, 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 blah. Okay, all that romance stuff. I give my wife a rose every day. Just kidding. Carnations. I text it to her. You know, it's a modern form of love. Just emoji your wife. She'll feel loved today. Just kidding. Hey, I took my wife to Disney World. She loves me. Okay, but here's the thing. Life is temporary. And what do they always learn in these Hallmark movies? I've been wasting all my life working at this job, making money, and it's not satisfying. What's so important is this relationship. Do you realize that God is giving you an opportunity to have the Hallmark movie of your life with Him? That when you slow down life and you look at life from a greater perspective, you say, you know what? What's really important wasn't all these things that I chased, that everyone seems to chase. And in fact, it was about God. And think about it. If everyone in the world is chasing those things, and I tell you they are, how come then everyone's so miserable all the time? Maybe we got to live life differently. Life is short, and I'm asking you, don't waste it on the things of this world that are so temporary. Spend it with God. Seek God. Maybe you don't know anything about God. Maybe you don't know anything about the Bible. I can help you out with that. Maybe you don't know much about Jesus or why it's truth. I'll help you with that too. We have lots of people who will help you out with that. But live for the eternal. So that at the end of your life, God won't call you a fool. He will call you my child. And Jesus will call you my brother. And we as a Christian family will say, you're my friend. Today we talked about how you were invited to Friend Month. And today is the first Sunday of Friend Month. Well, our goal is not for you to remain a friend. We want you to be family. We want you to be a child of God. We want you to be His, not temporarily here on earth, but forever. And one of the things that Jesus finished off with was saying, don't be seeking all these things, but be rich towards God. And this is really where my message goes. If you've been living your life running after the very things that seem to have not made you happy yet, and here I've posted the testimony of some of the most wealthy, famous people in the country and in the world saying it doesn't satisfy you, try something different. And what that is Jesus was telling us, seek God. The Bible tells us, and Jesus tells us to seek first His kingdom and His righteousness. Seek Jesus. Because Jesus made known that I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. God loves you so much that He sent Jesus to come find you. He didn't just wait in heaven saying, okay, everyone, come find me in heaven. And in fact, God sent His one and only Son, Jesus, to come from heaven to earth. And He was not a wealthy king on earth. He was a poor son of a carpenter. And He here, as a blue-collar job, as He ministered to people, He showed known His love and His mercy and His grace and His truth. And all the time He was saying, want me because I wanted you. If you want joy, come to me. If you want peace, come to me. If you want hope, come to me. If you want love and purpose and fulfillment, come to me. Because all the other things may please you for a moment, but I can please you for eternity. And I loved you so much that I was willing to give up everything in heaven just to come seek you. When we start seeking God in the way that He sought us out, then we discover the beauty of a relationship that He intended and created us for. Let me tell you this right now. I want every person in this room to know God. Because Jesus made known, knowing God is what eternal life is. Heaven is heaven because of God. Not because it's not hell, but it's because God is there. And He wants you. So much so, He was willing to allow Jesus to suffer the cruelest death. Isn't that love? Isn't that where God was rich towards us with grace? So we should be rich towards God as well. Maybe today is the first time you've been to our worship service. Maybe today this is the first time you finally accepted an invitation by your friend to say, yes, I'll come to worship service with you. Maybe you have questions about Jesus or the Bible. Maybe you have all these things in your mind saying, I've tried everything. I'm ready to try something else. Maybe Jesus is it. And let me tell you, He is the it. I want you to know that if I posted everything on a Facebook quiz to say, what are the things that would make you happy for eternity? What are the things that actually mean something in life? What is something that gives you purpose? You would put the picture that had the name of Christ in it. And I hope that that will be what you choose today. If you want to follow Jesus, if you want to learn more about Jesus, I will be in the back. I'll be at Pollock. You come up to me and say, Micah, are you willing to talk with me? Micah, are you willing to share with me the Bible? Micah, I've been seeking. Or Micah, I've been hurting and struggling in my life and I just need someone to talk to. Can I talk with you? Let me tell you, the answer is yes to all of those. I want God to find you. And I want you to find God. So I want to give you those invitations. I hope that you will stay for lunch with us after worship service. Let us love and get to know you. And I'm kind of shy, and I understand if you're shy as well, but if you really need someone to talk to, or if you want to learn more about Jesus, come and see me. And I will give you my time, and I will give you my heart, because God gave you those things first. And so we give you that invitation today, now, as we stand and sing.
This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through. My treasure